Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really high-stakes strategic topic sourced directly from Virtualization Options LLC. We're talking directly to you, C-suite executives and IT directors out there about what is literally the most overlooked element of moving from VMware Cloud Foundation to a physical infrastructure, and that is the human element.
So think about this for a second. Are you investing millions in your new infrastructure, but completely guessing on your team's actual skills? It's a tough question, right? But there is this really dangerous assumption floating around enterprise IT that just buying shiny new hardware automatically means your team is prepared to run it. Well, spoiler alert, they usually aren't. Not without a definitive plan anyway.
To fix that, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll cover 1. The infrastructure migration trap. 2. Assessing your team's skills. 3. Defining the target stack. 4. Building a role-based training matrix. 5. Learning during the migration. And 6. The 30-day action plan.
Okay, Section 1, the infrastructure migration trap.
We have to start right at the beginning by addressing a massive risk that traps way too many IT organizations right out of the gate. The source material emphasizes a pretty stark strategic reality. Training readiness determines migration success, period. Your people require just as much investment as your servers, before, during, and after this transformation. Because if you're only thinking about racks, cables, and licenses, you're basically setting your migration up for catastrophic downtime. The human element is your ultimate linchpin here.
And this brings us to the crucial difference between misaligned training and targeted training. Buying vendor courses blindly, before you even know what skills your team actually has, it just creates false confidence. Plus, it burns through your budget. That is just premature procurement. Targeted training, on the other hand, requires a locked-in stack, milestone-driven planning, and highly role-specific allocations.
Section 2, assessing your team's skills. So how exactly do we get to that targeted state? Well, this is the core focus of what we're talking about today, how modern IT teams actually assess skills to mitigate risk. Because guessing on your team's capabilities is exactly what leads to project-killing failures during a cutover. A structured skills inventory is your absolute foundation. Step 1, assess the current state. You've got to launch a formal survey across your staff to gauge their VMware VCF proficiency, specifically looking at things like vSphere, NSXT, and vSAN. You have to know your starting line. Step 2, map to the target state. Identify those specific, glaring gaps in bare metal OS administration and physical networking. And then, Step 3, categorize by role. You cannot train everyone the exact same way. You've got to separate the requirements for your systems admins from your network engineers and your storage admins.
Section 3, defining the target stack. Once you know exactly what your team knows, we reach the phase where you lock down your final technology decisions. And the sheer variety of paths you can take here highlights exactly why assumptions are so dangerous. You absolutely must identify your precise platforms. Why? Well, because a Cisco certification track differs wildly from Aruba, just like moving to Proxmox demands entirely different skills than moving to Microsoft Hyper-V or Nutanix AHV. Even storage platforms like Pure, NetApp, or Dell PowerStore, they all have incredibly unique, vendor-specific training and protocol nuances.
Actually, this quote captures the executive philosophy perfectly. It's an authoritative truth from the text. Procuring training before your infrastructure decisions are confirmed is a massive, highly avoidable error. Think about it. If you buy a generalized virtualization course, but you end up deploying KVM, you've just wasted your budget and your team's time. Lock in those decisions first.
Section 4, role-based training matrix.
Once your stack is completely locked, you have to map the gaps we found during that skills assessment directly to the people doing the actual work. This is where your strategy becomes actionable. You have to clearly define the critical domains. For instance, your network engineers need to be hyper-focused on physical routing, like BGP and replacing NSXT, while your sysadmins need to tackle bare metal OS provisioning and VM lifecycles. And notice the priority levels here. You're triaging the most critical skill gaps first, entirely based on the specific operational roles of your team members. But a matrix without ownership is really just a spreadsheet. Establishing a RACI matrix, which defines exactly who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, guarantees that your training plan isn't just a wish list. It dictates exactly who assigns the training, who delivers it, and who tracks it. Ambiguity right here will literally kill your momentum. You want to tie every training gate directly to your migration project phase gates. Basically, no operational phase begins until the corresponding training is officially signed off.
Section 5, learning during the migration.
Next, we need to completely reframe how we view the actual migration event itself. It's not just an operational task, it is a live, high-stakes classroom. You have to structure real-time learning under fire. Hardware stress during a migration surfaces failure modes that no lab environment is ever going to reliably reproduce. When that first bare metal OS install happens or when you're configuring RAID arrays for the first time, a senior engineer must be physically present to guide the team. These are high-value, totally irreplaceable hands-on moments that lock in retention.
And when things do go wrong, because they will, you have to actively reframe mistakes. Errors made in a supervised migration context are learning events. They are not performance failures. You need to reinforce this explicitly and repeatedly to your team to prevent burnout and skill anxiety. Make post-incident debriefs absolutely mandatory. They are repeatedly cited as the most effective training events of an entire infrastructure project.
Which leads directly to a critical governance requirement. Knowledge that exists only in individual engineers' heads is both an operational risk and a succession planning failure. That hits the nail on the head, right? To prevent this, your mid-migration strategy absolutely must include converting your operational experiences into maintained, living runbooks and a highly searchable internal wiki. Capture those real-time firmware decisions and fault isolation steps. That right there is your new institutional IP.
Section 6. The 30-Day Action Plan.
Okay, let's tie all of this methodology into a concrete timeline you can start executing today. Here is your next 30 days. Week 1. Launch that skills inventory survey across all IT roles to capture current proficiency and establish a solid baseline. Week 2. Confirm your target infrastructure stack and shortlist your training vendors. Week 3. Build out that role-based training matrix from your inventory results and secure those budget line items. And finally, Week 4. Identify your migration champions by role and enroll them in the first training cohort. Their success is going to become the proof of concept for the rest of your organization. Remember, every single week of delay compresses your training runway and increases your cutover risk.
So, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Your shiny new hardware might be sitting on the loading dock, ready to go. But is your team? Remember, training readiness is what ultimately dictates migration readiness. So start assessing those skills today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this structured approach empowers your next big infrastructure move. See you next time.